Hey, what's up guys? Humphrey here. So last week I decided to track and film everything that I spent money on, and that's exactly what I wanted to share with you guys today. It's how much money I spend in a week as a full-time YouTuber and TikTok content creator. I documented every single time that I actually had an expense from the previous Saturday to Friday of last week. Now, my week actually consisted of traveling down to LA, which is a little irregular for my everyday week, but I just wanted to include all my expenses no matter what. In any case, you're gonna notice that I spend a lot of money on food, and while I typically make coffee at home, I think this week in particular, I spent a lot of money out on coffee because I was meeting up with friends or I had some business meetings. So I'll go through my discretionary expenses day by day, and then we'll go over my recurring expenses, such as my subscriptions, my gym memberships, phone bill, car insurance, etc. And at the end, we'll add it all up and I'll show you exactly how much it costs to keep my life running. Now, before we start, I actually have a special announcement, which is starting now. For every 500 subscribers this channel gets, I will shout out one of you guys from the comment sections of my videos as a thank you for watching. In addition, you'll notice I also have $20 here. I'll put $20 in this jar for every single shout out. So we have a couple things going on. First, every 500 subs, $20 will go in this jar and I shout you out. Now, second is that when this jar hits $1,000 total, you guys get to decide how this $1,000 gets invested, and we'll do that with the top comment on the community tab. You get to decide that money's fate, and it'll be fun for all of us. So this week, I'll kick it off with two comments. The first from Jamil, this one's for you, my man. And also the second one from Gregory Friedman, this one's for you. So $40 in the jar right now. I'll probably call it the sub fund or the subscriber investment trust or something like that. But the jar's at $40 total, so make sure you guys subscribe and your comment could be chosen next week. Okay, so let's get right into it. Starting on Saturday, which was the first day of this week of tracking, I took my mom to a local Vietnamese restaurant for lunch, and I needed to see her because I wanted to pick some stuff up from her to bring to my sister in LA. Well, I ended up paying for lunch and I spent about $35.88 there. Afterwards, I went to the gym to run it off since I was feeling a little bit fat. I did that, and after the gym, I felt like grabbing a coffee, so I went to my local coffee bar to grab a coffee, which ended up costing me $5.50 for a latte, but I added $1 for tip, so the total was $6.50. I didn't spend any money the rest of the day as I went over to my friend Quinn's house, where his family was able to cook me some pasta, which was much appreciated, so the total on Saturday was $42.38. So that was just Saturday, so let's get on to Sunday now. So in the morning, that same friend which I had dinner with the night before, Quinn, actually asked me to grab coffee, and so I obliged, and that costed me another $6 from a local coffee shop called St. Frank Coffee in Menlo Park. Normally I would make coffee at home, but when my friends ask me to get coffee, I'm always happy to go out for the social aspect of the ritual. Now for lunch, I went to the Stanford Shopping Center for a poke bowl. I get a standard bowl with the original poke mix, and the total here was $16.23 with tip. I didn't do much the rest of the afternoon. I probably played some World of Warcraft, and for dinner, I went over to Quinn's house yet again, where they had Greek and Mediterranean dishes, including hummus and pita bread that I filled up on, but unfortunately, I forgot to film that. Sunday's total for me was $22.23. That's a pretty low expense day for me. On Monday morning, I made a coffee on my own, and then I spent the morning at the Stanford Hospital, and my goal there was to get the vaccine records from my father. My dad had traveled to Hong Kong the week prior, and upon arrival, the government actually told him that because his vaccine card differed from his passport, that basically he would have to quarantine for 21 days in a hotel room instead of the 14 days. Basically, they were just saying that my dad's vaccine card didn't have his full middle name on his passport, it just had the initial of his middle name, so basically he had to quarantine as if he were unvaccinated. And that's why I was at the hospital. I was basically getting a vaccine letter from his primary care doctor, which actually took me around 2 hours to get since I went without an appointment. I ended up buying a Starbucks gift card while I was waiting because the patient services receptionist was so kind and wanted to help in any way that she could. So that was really much appreciated. So if you're watching this, Lupe, I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart, but I did spend $25 on that gift card. And if you're curious, the letter, by the way, did end up working, and I did get my dad's quarantine shortened to 14 days total, which was a relief. For lunch, I got a sandwich at a deli near me and a Coke Zero. Now this total was $14.39. And as you can see, guys, I eat out most of my meals, but I try to keep it within the $10 to $15 range per meal, which is a pretty standard price for a lunch in the Bay Area. In the afternoon, I did some more work, and for dinner, I went to Heroes, which is a Mediterranean place that serves large portions. So I was able to eat half of this meal for dinner, which means that I could save the rest for lunch the next day. On Monday, I spent $61.04. So let's get on to Tuesday. Tuesday now. Are you guys having fun yet? So on Tuesday, I met another friend for coffee in the morning. And guys, this is not a regular thing, I promise. This friend just happened to be moving out of California for good, so this was a goodbye send-off. I ended up paying for 2 pastries plus 2 coffees and tip, and the total there was $24.62. Now Tuesday mostly consisted of work, but I did step out for dinner and I had some to-go sushi, which cost $19.10 after tax and tip. My total for Tuesday then was $43.72 if you're following along with me. Wednesday was another day in which I worked and I wanted to get as much done as I could before heading to LA the next day, so for my meals, I actually had a panini from my favorite cafe in Menlo Park called Cafe Baroni. Now, Cafe Baroni is actually quite expensive. It cost me $19.58 for a panini and tip, but I did get a free latte from my friend Joseph who works there. And if you guys remember, one of my first ever videos on this channel was a video about Joseph and a review of his spending. He was the guy that spent way too much on Uber per month. I think it was around $600 a month on Uber, so it was super nice to see him. And if you're curious, he doesn't spend that much on Uber anymore, and he's in a much better place financially. In the afternoon, I just spent it scripting and working on new videos, and for dinner, I had a Greek bowl, which was $13.78. And I also got gas, which costed me an arm and a leg at $84.32 to fill up my car at a price of around $4.10 per gallon. The total for Wednesday was really high at $117.68. All right, so on Thursday was the day that I would head down to Los Angeles. Now, I stopped at McDonald's on the way down off of the 5 since I was driving, and I spent $8.83 on a chicken sandwich and a couple of apple pies. If you've been to McDonald's and had an apple pie, you know that those are pretty damn hard to pass up, so you betcha I got 2 of them. Upon arriving in LA, I checked into my hotel, which was luckily free because I used my credit card points to book it. Now, had I not used points, my daily expenses would be way higher for this video. After checking in, I walked to Kazunori, a hand roll place for lunch, and lunch cost about $20.32 for 4 hand rolls, which was pretty tasty. In the late afternoon, I drove to meet up with Ricky, where we walked around the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. Now, the purpose of my visit to LA was for a wedding and to also meet up with Ricky, who you guys may know as one of my team members that helps me with content and editing on my channel. I spent $3.50 for parking and $31.97 on a pair of cufflinks that I would need for the wedding later that weekend. We also got sushi for dinner, which was a business expense since we did talk about YouTube and TikTok, but I did spend $72.79 after tip on dinner. Funny enough, we ate at Sushi Stop, which literally has the same font of GameStop. Now, I didn't really know what to think. Would I be going to the moon by eating their sushi, or would I just be disappointed with their trade-in values? That was a bad joke, but $137.41 was my total for Thursday. Now, Friday was an interesting day and the last day of this week challenge. I spent the morning meeting up with another Instagram creator. Her name is Dale, and she actually runs the Sweats in the City Instagram account, but we got 2 lattes in Santa Monica at a really fancy new cafe called La Kind. It was very Santa Monica and the drinks were great, but our total was $17.27 after tip, which, if you do the math, means that each latte was $8.63. I want you guys to remember this number for later because it'll be pretty notable. Now, after coffee, I basically walked around Santa Monica for a couple hours, and then I went to lunch with my sister and her husband, who were kind enough to treat me to sushi. Now, I did have to pay $3.75 for parking, but that was fine because they did pay for my meal, so thank you to my sister and her husband. After lunch, I met up with yet another friend for what else but coffee at a place called Blue Daisy Cafe in Santa Monica. I again treated this time, and it was $15.61 for our Turkish coffees. Now, if you are looking for a cool cafe to go to in Santa Monica, I recommend both of these that I visited today, so Blue Daisy Cafe and also La Kind. For dinner, I actually ended up going to Chipotle since I felt like I was spending way too much money, and my order there cost $8.60 for a chicken bowl. Now, this is pretty funny. That means my latte in the morning cost more than my entire dinner, and that's why LA, my friends, is a crazy place. My total for Friday was $45.23. So that means my total for the week came out to $469.69. Nice. And that is actually 397 euros. On a daily average, that's actually $67.09 per day. So yes, I did spend a lot of money this week. Now you may be wondering how I'm able to afford all this. Well, I do make a decent income from YouTube and TikTok, and I also have an e-commerce store that I've talked about on this channel briefly that is able to make me some passive income. In the past, I've also worked at different tech companies, and those paid rather handsomely, so I was able to save that money so I could start investing it, which we do talk a lot about on this channel. But out of all all the reasons, I think the greatest reason why I'm able to justify all these expenses is that I don't pay rent in the Bay Area. I live at home in my dad's house, as you can see here, and he's gone half the year, so I do feel like I have the place to myself and I save a lot of money that way. Now, I do want to address that not everybody has this option of living at home or wants this option, but I also want to acknowledge that I grew up in a pretty comfortable situation. My parents were in a decent financial position when they had me, and I'm incredibly grateful for that, and there's not a day that I take that for granted. I think so much of economic status is based on where you're born and who you were born to, stuff that you can't really change, and everyone's in a different financial position. And I don't want to say this to ostracize you, but rather my goal is to create a community where everyone can learn from each other on how to improve their own finances, no matter where you are in life. So that's why I started this channel, and I know that while I do have some privilege in my own life, I want to help others as much as I can. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk about some of my recurring expenses now. So in terms of recurring expenses, for rent, I pay $0 a month for now. Now, my dad has said he wants to start charging me, but I'm hoping that that doesn't actually happen and that he forgets about that. For car insurance, I pay about $152 a month. It's through AAA, and that comes out to around $38 a week. For car maintenance, that's about $2,000 a year that I've budgeted, or if you do it by week, it's about $38.46 a week. For my gym membership, that's $255 a month. It's Equinox, and it's probably my biggest splurge here in terms of recurring expenses, as I like the amenities that Equinox actually offers, so that actually comes out to $63.75 per week. I also have Spotify. It is $2.49 per week. My internet is from Comcast. It's $60 a month, or about $15 per week. My phone bill is also $60 a month, or $15 per week. And then I also pay for Adobe Photoshop for all of my content creation needs, especially making thumbnails, and that's $29.99 a month, or about $7.50 a week. I also have some other subscriptions here. So I pay for iTunes Cloud, that's $2.99 a month, or about 74 cents a week. My Wall Street Journal subscription is $4 a month because I'm on a special promo. And by the way, quick tip, if you want a Wall Street Journal subscription, you just create a new account and sign up for the new offer every time your promotion offer is over. Now, my next biggest expense is health insurance. That is my largest recurring expense. It is $505.21 a month, or about $126.3 a week. When you're self-employed, you just have to buy your own insurance, and that is definitely hurting me. I really don't like paying for health insurance, even though I'm really healthy. It feels like sometimes I'm just throwing money away, but I do know that it's there just in case something bad happens. If we add up my recurring expenses and the week of expenses that I tracked this week, in total this week, I would have spent about $777.94. On a daily basis, that comes out to about $111 per day, and for you Europeans out there, that's 93 euros per day. That means in a single month, to keep my life going, if we multiply this by 30, it's roughly $3,334 per month, give or take. Again, for you Euros out there, I spend about 28.20 euros per month just to keep my life going, and in British pounds, that's actually 24.01 British pounds. The one thing I realized from doing this video is that my recurring expenses on a daily basis, if you take that $308 per week from earlier, it's around $44 a day, which was a little bit surprising to me. I actually realized that this is incredibly privileged since I'm not paying rent in my area, which could go for around $2,000 to $3,000 per month for a room, so I'm saving so much money just living at home. It is my goal just to straight up buy a house around here whenever I can save up enough money for a huge down payment, but in my area that's actually going to be pretty high, and I still need to have enough self-employment history to qualify for a mortgage unless I want to use a non-standard lender. The other thing I'm trying to balance in my life is living at home and how it affects actually finding a companion in my life. So I'm pretty sure most of the people in my area are a little bit more accepting that I live at home because the cost of living is so high around here. But when I go to other states like Texas, for example, and if I tell somebody I live at home, well, I might get some judging looks. Now, realistically, I also might have some larger expenses here and there if I go traveling. So for example, this week was paid for with credit card points for the hotel, but if I were to go and pay for a hotel, that would be more expensive. Also, going to LA, I actually drove my car, but if I were to fly, that would be more expensive as well. My last thought on my own finances is that I definitely need to cook more at home. That should be pretty evident in my spending habits. However, I'm mostly by myself when I'm eating, and I find cooking takes me a lot of time. So I justify it from a time perspective, which is basically I'd rather spend, say, $10 to $15 on a meal that's ready made, tastes better than what I can make, and saves me the time. My thought is I'll try to make up for it in income by producing more content, consulting, or even spending time on my e-commerce business. Sometimes it just depends on what your priorities are. Would you rather cut some small costs here and there or try to grow your income? For me, I'd rather just try to grow my income than really worry about the $5 or the $6 coffees that I might purchase on a daily basis. So I hope that you found this video interesting. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you'd like a chance to get shouted out in my future videos. For the next 2 weeks, I'll be traveling a little bit more, so the uploads will be a little bit more inconsistent. However, I'm still gonna try to get one video out a week, and in the future, I'd really like to get to a consistent 2 per week. All right, so that was how much I spend in a week as a full-time YouTuber. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will probably be next week. All right, peace.